Jai Meher Baba, and a warm welcome to all of you on the first anniversary of the House of the Beloved. And with the help of all of you, we were able to acquire this place and signed our documents on January 31st of last year. But more importantly, January 31st is Amartithi, or the eternal day. On this day, thousands of people will gather on Mehrabad Hill to meditate on the beloved, Avatar Meher Baba. They will contemplate on his words. They will think of what legacy he has left behind for mankind, and they will visualize his presence in their lives. Avatar Meher Baba gave us many gifts, but the first gift he gave was the gift of his love. All of you are present here today because he awakened each one of us and made us God conscious and God centered. But the greatest gift that he gave us was his name. One day somebody went to Kitty Devi and said he couldn't focus on Baba for too long. He felt that he was having a hard time holding on to Baba's daman. And Kitty Devi gave him a quizzical look and said, "But don't forget that Meher Baba gave you his name, and you can live the rest of your life and several lifetimes simply by his name." So on this anniversary, I began to contemplate and think and meditate on what are the gifts that he gave me and what are the gifts that he gave to mankind, and what are the choices he gave each one of us. So besides the gifts that he gave us, he also gave us a choice. He gave us the choice, or rather two pathways: the path of worry, the pathway of being pessimistic, the pathway of despair, the pathway of disappointment, the pathway of negativity. Or he gave us the choice of the path of victory, the path of optimism, the path of goodness, the path of love, and the path of being free. I came across this quote, and some of you may have read it. It was in a discourse called God and Love and God Love. And in that, Baba says, of all the forces that can best overcome all difficulties is the force of love. Because the greatest law of God is love, which holds the key to all problems. This mighty force not only enables one to put the ideal of selfless service into practice, but also transforms one into God. It has been possible through love for man to become God. What a concept. It has become possible for man to become God. In 1965, I was sitting in his presence at Guru Prasad, precisely on May 4th, 1965, and we had a very, very enchanting evening of conversation. A lot of things happened that morning, but the last thing was something that had been troubling me. And that was, how do I get around to asking Baba a question when Iraj had specifically written to me not to ask questions? But being a journalist and with a very curious and inquisitive mind, and I was trying to figure out a way to ask him a question. And that opportunity he gave me. So I said, I had just come back from the Third World Religions Conference, and I said, Baba, I was able to, by your grace, I was able to answer all the questions, but one question escaped me. I just couldn't give an answer. And immediately Baba said, what is the question? So I said, Baba, a number of people asked me at this Third World Religions Conference, how can Meher Baba say that he's God in human form? And Baba, I could see him really heave a sigh of relief. What a simple question. But he became serious. And this was a reflection to what I just said. It has been possible through love for man to become God. And he turns to me and he says, you, Nosherwan, are God in human form. Erich here is God in human form. Francis are God in human form. But each one of us, each one of you are veiled. My job is to make you conscious of your divinity. Each one of you are divine. My job is to make you conscious of your divinity. And how do I do that? I give you the gift of conviction. And it is this strong gift of conviction that helps us to hold fast to his Dharman. We already have the attributes of God: love, charity, compassion. But we can only exercise these qualities in our own lives when we follow his dictum of Jai Meher Baba. May Meher Baba be victorious. And you've heard me speak about this time and time again. Because we just have a path that he's given us when we begin our day by saying that my life is going to be victorious. I'm going to do well. The very fact that Baba contributed towards making this house of the beloved, he put each one of us on a path of victory. Undoubtedly, there were impediments all along the way, but he made it happen. So whether it's our job, whether it's our relationship, whether it's the impediments we face in our lives, we can either go backwards or we can go on the path of victory that Baba has channeled for us. Either we can be negative or go through life being positive. And that example Meher Baba gave to my father. My father had lost his job with the Singer Sewing Machine Company. And what they had done was they'd given him a choice of either buying his shop or not having a job. And he was down in despair. And he wrote to Baba in deep agony and despair, explaining to Baba how much he was suffering as a result of the loss of his job, and he didn't know what direction to take, and this was the choice the company had given him. And Baba wrote back a remarkable answer. Directly, through signs and gestures, he conveyed to my father, and my father wrote to him saying that he was getting old, even though he was in his late 40s, early 50s. And Baba wrote to him saying, this is the time for you to be victorious. This is the time for you to go forward. This is the time for you to take over your shop, run your business, and you will succeed. And why will you succeed? Because God is Malik. God is the supreme God. He will take care of you. This is not the time to be worried. This is not the time for you to go step backwards. This is the time for you to go forward. And he did go forward, and he did succeed. So those are the lessons that Baba has given us. That we begin our day, each day, saying that, Meher Baba, you want me to succeed, you want me to be victorious, and I will be victorious. And that's what he wants of us. Way back, it was 40 days before he dropped his body that I was privileged to be in his presence. And I had similar dilemmas. I had 3 jobs to choose from. I didn't know whether I would be able to continue with the glow. So Baba had invited me for an afternoon meeting on one-on-one. And of course, some of the Mandli were there. And several of these choices were in front of him. But he is the all-knowing. I had a choice between a well-paid job and a not-so-well-paying job. But Meher Baba knew my heart. And I was determined at this meeting that I was not going to express myself and tell him, even though he asked me at one point, which job would you like? This job in the Army and the Air Force were extremely well-paid jobs. But the job as a journalist was a very poorly paid job. And he asked me at one point, and I said, Baba, whatever you decide, that's what I would go for. But in my heart of hearts, in my inner recesses, I was hoping that Baba would say that I should become a writer and a journalist. But I didn't express myself. And he read my heart. And he listened to all what I had to say, all the opinions of the several Mandli who were sitting there, giving their background of knowing me since my childhood. And then Baba also saw the salaries that each job was offering. But then he zeroed in and said, I should become a journalist. And I did become a journalist because I was determined that if Baba told me, whichever job he asked me to, that's the job I would take. And because over the years growing up in Baba's love and care, I had learned that it was very, very important to obey him.